There's been boom, boom, but not boom, boom.
Dear Shandy.
Welcome back to another Dear Shandy Bachelor in Paradise recap, listeners. Hello, Andy.
Hello.
How are you today?
Doing dandy.
Oh, dandy.
Yes.
Dandy Andy.
Nice.
You seem in good spirits today. People find it amusing how I say this stuff as though we don't live in the same house.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you do seem in good
Yeah,
spirits.
we haven't seen each other in a while, so
Not since the last recap.
yeah, that's it.
Housekeeping before we get to recapping today. The only thing I can think of is that the next recap and every recap for the rest of this Paradise season will be in Colorado.
Yeah.
So just FYI.
Mile High City.
Okay, so overall thoughts on episodes 4 and 5 before we get recapping. There's a lot to cover today.
Out of a score of 100,
Yeah.
I gave episodes 2 and 3 a 14. And I give 4 and 5 a 15.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to give it a slightly higher score than that, just in that I actually was entertained a tiny bit. I laughed twice.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big improvement. So I feel like that deserves like 22.
Okay, I respect that. Maybe I'm being a little too harsh. I'll give it an 18.
Okay. I think that covers our overall thoughts.
Yeah.
Let's get going. So episode 4 picks up with very tense music. Serene says she's about to cry because of Teddy's departure, her Irish exit. And we see Rodney walking around to the tune of a majorly Frankenbitten, I would love to go on a date with her tonight. So they are, recapping what happened last week. And Serene and Jill and Justin break the news to Rodney. He seems distraught by this.
Yeah.
And sits down with Brandon, who tells Rodney that there are other cool girls on the beach, pretty much. He's like, Jill is dope.
Yeah. she's
Victoria's dope.
dope. Totally dope.
He tells Rodney that he's the hottest commodity to hit that sand.
Yeah.
We're really being told just how hot.
Yeah, reminded.
Yeah, they really want us to think Rodney is a really hot commodity.
Yeah. I think he's at the very least a lukewarm commodity.
I think Rodney's main appeal, and look, Rodney is very sweet. We said last week that, when we met him, he was everything you would hope he would be.
Yeah, very Rodney.
I feel like in this environment, because it is such a downer season, just having some positivity to you can go a really long way.
Yeah. And Rodney lacks no positivity.
So right off the bat, we get our first word watch with Brandon saying to Rodney,
Everyone's vibing out still. It's still early.
Andy, you weren't sure what this meant.
Yeah, I don't get it. Are we vibing?
I feel like you and I are always vibing, but sometimes
that's
better than
sweet.
other times. Okay, so the latest one that I don't understand is slaps.
Oh, I've never heard that before.
This was a recent thing.
Oh, something slaps?
Yeah, it's like, when you add, like this dish really slaps.
Meaning like it's good.
I think so, but I don't know why people can't just say it's really good.
I'm not into slaps. I hope that doesn't catch on.
Okay, Rodney decides to give up the date to hang out with the group and just chat and get to know everyone. I think this is the right call. He didn't want to make anyone feel like his second choice. Yeah. And the gist now is that Jill is into Rodney. She laughs a lot in his presence, but meanwhile, we see that Lace has her eye on Rodney. She says that he has lit up the beach. She makes some moves on him at the bar, and now they chat. She asks Rodney what his type is. He says his resume would indicate that she is his type. There's a lot of lighthearted chatting here, and then they stroll off into the distance and make out. Meanwhile, Jill and Co. see it all happening, and Jill is bummed. And meanwhile, Andy, you were confused why sometimes Lace's butt was black boxed and other times it wasn't.
Yeah, I don't understand the black box thing. It's like, is there some guru who they hire to do who knows how to do this?
Yeah.
Like when it's good and when it's not? Like, is he some guy like he lives like in a cabin somewhere, and like the producers just go and they're like his name is Blambo.
Oh my God.
Like, Blambo, we need you. And he opens the door of the shack, you know? You ever see this,
No,
like-
this is like, it's like an action movie.
He's like
trope.
all like, he's got a big beard.
Yeah, and he's like, I've quit my black boxing days.
No, he's like, I don't do that anymore. That's the old me. I don't black box anymore. Now I live in a cabin and I hunt for my food.
Yeah.
And like, but Blambo, we need you. We need you. Think about the children. And
Yeah.
he's like, turns around. He's like, oh, the children. All right, I'll black box.
That's what happened. What's funny is that in one scene, like she'll be wearing the exact same swimsuit, it's black boxed, and then the next it's not black boxed. Blambo's doing a shoddy job.
Yeah, well, no, that's what I'm saying. I think Blambo actually knows what he's doing. because I think there's like some algorithm. It's like so subtle that even most humans can't
It's like
recognize
down to the
it.
millimeter of coverage.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Blambo's like, no, they're like, you sure? We don't notice any difference. He's like, trust me, I'm Blambo.
I know my cheek coverage.
Yeah.
So the gist around the beach is that it's a confusing pairing between Lace and Rodney, but we didn't actually find it that weird. Like,
No.
it's unexpected, but seeing them together, it kind of worked.
Yeah, it does work.
Yeah. Ashley and Jared, now we're back to them. We hear about how they haven't had alone time in forever. This is a chance for them to reconnect, but there are bugs in their room, yada, 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 and thus begins a 2-episode long arc. This is the one story that it would seem the powers that be are really interested in telling because it has an actual beginning and ending arc.
Yeah.
Wells tells the story of the saga of Jared and Ashley now, and we found this really painful, and we want to get out of the way that we really like Ashley and Jared, and us finding this painful is not a reflection on them, but just on the fact that this is just such recycled content.
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I think it's disrespectful to Aaron and Jash. Aaron and Jashley. That's what I'm going to call them.
I
now.
really like Aaron. That's great.
But anyway, my point is, when we got to know them in our Love Fest, I got to say, they're cool as shit.
Yeah.
I think they're fantastic. Like, Jared is so much
Funnier.
more interesting and funny
Yeah.
than he is on TV. And I think he's just put into a box where he has to be a certain way. But he's hilarious and super interesting, and she's great. And they're forcing them to be this dumb joke. It's like, oh, the married couple. Oh, this is what it's like to be married. It's like, you
Yeah.
know, the no sex, the farting.
Yeah.
That's not what they should do.
No.
That's not how they should be used.
I think they're above this, but at the same time, I guess everyone's winning. It's like, I'm sure they got paid
Look,
for this.
look, they
Yeah.
got paid no matter
Yeah.
what happened.
Yeah.
If they just wheeled them out with, like, you know, like clown outfits on, they would have still done the right
It's
thing.
honestly, it feels like one step away from that, from it being like a float. It's like the Jared and Ashley float where they're like doing this, and it's like, once again, one of our success stories,
Oh, it
and
totally
now let's
is that.
follow
That's
their
exactly,
relationship.
that's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
It's the float in the parade.
Yeah.
Yeah, of like the
Thanks.
TV show.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Am I getting an analogy
just-
stamp of approval?
Absolutely.
So back on the beach, we're told that Justin and Logan are moping around waiting for the return of Genevieve and Shanae. Oh, and by the way, it's Justin's birthday. A lot of birthdays.
Yeah.
And everyone seems to have the same cake.
Yeah. They have a standard Bachelor in Paradise cake.
Yeah. There's like one bakery in town. The ladies return and tell them about the date activities, and Genevieve promptly finds Justin to go talk. He asks how the date was, and she says it was good. Aaron's not as bro-y as she thought. And the main thing is she felt wanted and special, which she hasn't felt from him. She's very direct here.
Yeah.
We see, meanwhile, the police department, or 2/3 of the police department, watching from afar. And Genevieve now starts describing the ways in which Justin has not made her feel desired. For example, how they could sit near each other and only kiss once. And he says, so we're counting kisses now? And she loses her shit at this, which I'm kind of torn between this, like whose side to be on, because I agree with her that that's not the point.
Yeah.
But I also feel like she's just going about this all wrong. Like,
wants-
as you often say, love me never
Yeah.
really works.
Yeah.
But Justin says what he wants is to get back to how they were on night one. Apparently, it was really magical on night one. I don't remember it being
They
super
cut
magical.
that. It wasn't important.
Good storytelling.
Yeah.
He says, well, you can give me a hug on my birthday. And she begrudgingly hugs him. Genevieve says she's sorry. This is happening on Justin's birthday. He asks, you're not going to kiss me on my birthday? And she says, did you kiss me on my birthday? And then he says yes. And then this sort of morphs into a surprisingly hot kiss that we
Oh,
were
yeah.
kind of confused by.
Yeah. This was the hottest moment I've seen on Bachelor in Paradise, maybe ever. I got a little heated.
Yeah, it was filled with this tension, and it was sort of like
Yeah.
like they didn't like each other, but they were really just, it was like, it felt very animalistic and
Yeah.
not forced. It felt like they just truly couldn't resist kissing each
And
other.
there's part of it I just can't put my finger on. Like, things that are magnificent are never things you can fully describe in words. You
Yeah.
just have to experience them. And I'm telling you, that was a hot kiss.
It was, and I think we've each had a version of that kiss in our
Yeah.
lives, and it is hot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so it would seem that this hate kiss that has happened in episode 4 is the one time we're like, oh, Genevieve and Justin, we can kind of see it. Aaron in his ITM, of course, says he's lost trust in her. He would never do that to her. He wants to, quote, curl over and die. He says it feels like last year is happening all over again. And then we hear Aaron say, why does this always happen to me? And Andy, you said, because you're always on Bachelor in Paradise. I will say to Aaron's credit, and Aaron actually gets a lot of credit in this recap. So if you're not an Aaron fan, I would maybe brace yourself. That's not to say that we're Aaron fans either. I just think we're fair.
Yes.
And
fair.
objective.
Correct.
And Aaron, to his credit, has never done this to anyone. He's never hooked up with one person and then gone and made out with someone else on a daybed that was visible to the person he was just with.
That's true.
From what I remember, anyway.
I don't recall either.
Genevieve seems upset now, and she says in her ITM she's so confused. Genevieve visits Aaron now, but he's showering, so she says no rush, she'll wait. And Aaron has James fetch the good-smelling body wash for him that he has packed.
Yeah.
And Andy, you said James should just get in the shower with him and get it over with. Oh, the police department, they're just really the gift that keeps on giving.
They do.
Genevieve waits on the steps, and in her ITM, she basically says she feels really bad. She really likes Aaron. She could see it going somewhere. And finally, Aaron arrives and they talk. She immediately says she's really sorry. She wasn't expecting the conversation with Justin to go in that direction. He says he saw them kissing, and the only thing he has an issue with is if this could have hurt him, why would she do it? He says his feelings are hurt. It caught him off guard. She says she feels terrible. It caught her off guard. A lot of being caught off guard here. He has PTSD with that daybed. And she explains the birthday kiss line. He says that's weird. It sounds manipulative. And we were like, it was hot. She starts to cry and says she feels really bad. He says, don't be stressed out. He really likes her. He doesn't think she'd do that if there wasn't something behind it. He feels mad chemistry with her, and he wants her to go to bed worry-free. And the music is all sweet now. And it's clear, I wrote, that Aaron has rebranded himself a romantic lead.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Do I think it's not studied? Not necessarily. I think Aaron wanted to redo a few things.
I think he's aware.
Yeah, I don't think that this is just him necessarily.
Yeah.
But he's like, okay, I am a bro, but I want to, change a few
polishing
things.
his image a little bit.
Yeah. And here's a classic case of someone using Paradise to his advantage, and that he's clearly a friend of producers.
I think the formula, if I were to give advice to someone going into this franchise, is be a villain on Bachelor or Bachelorette, and then be a good guy or girl on Bachelor in Paradise.
Like Shanae.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or Thomas.
Aaron. What you don't want to do is be a Brandon or Piper. Think of all the people who became villains on Paradise didn't end well. They all went to the graveyard of Bachelor in Paradise.
Actually, you're making a good point, because as a villain on your main season, you can get a ton of airtime.
Yes.
Which is harder to get as a front runner than as a villain. And you're right. And then you get your redemptive story. Yeah. Okay. Look at you. You have it all figured out.
Thank you.
So they basically make up. There's a peck. Genevieve in her ITM says she's pleasantly surprised with how it went. The gist is they're both excited and want to see where this goes. And Andy, you said to me, I feel mad chemistry with you. Are we going to adopt that, Andy?
No.
The next day, Ashley and Jared discuss how seriously the contestants are all taking everything, and they kind of want to tell them to just chill out. I did appreciate this. And now they morph into the narrators explaining who the couples are. And Genevieve comes in, by the way, looking very cute in her blue and white bikini. She sidles up next to Aaron, and they're all coupley. And there's a fantastic shot of Justin in the background eating and glaring and rolling his eyes with his face expressions. He's just so expressive. Justin says he wants to talk to her and get back on a clean slate. So Genevieve and Justin now, she apologizes for leading him on with that birthday kiss. He says he's still interested in her. He has tried to be upfront and honest with her, and he's insulted by how she openly made out with Aaron in front of him. She brings it back to feeling pursued, wanted. And she brings up Sally now, and he's like, oh my God. He shuts this down. She brings it down to affection. She has told him she needs affection. She says, quote, I'm sorry, I have high expectations that you're not able to meet. He calls her disrespectful, and she leaves. And now, as Genevieve and Aaron kiss more, we hear Justin say he's not the type to chase after a rose. Can I just say, these two, like, have you ever seen so much work go into something that is clearly not worth it?
There's no cake. It's just work. They made batter. They made frosting. They have sprinkles.
Yeah,
they have the mousse. layer? Is that what you put in a cake?
Yeah,
Is there a mousse
sometimes I
layer?
don't like
you
the
don't
mousse.
like mousse.
Yeah, I think mousse takes away from
But
the
anyway,
cake.
the point is, it's just it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Everyone put in the
The
work,
mess.
and
They
there's
have
no
to-
cake.
Yeah, well, I don't even
No
think
one put it into cake form.
I feel like that's not even a great example because at least when you're making a cake, the frosting tastes good. You can eat cake batter. Like there's plenty of good, delicious things you can eat without actually assembling a formal baked
So basically,
cake.
they had flour, eggs, like raw eggs.
No, I think it would be better to use an example of something that tastes not good as it's being prepared, but then when it's prepared, it's really good.
Eggplant. Eggplant's not that good when it's prepared either.
What?
You got to do so much stuff to it.
Oh,
No one
eggplant's
likes
so good.
just regular, like cooked eggplant.
Yes.
No
Yeah.
one does. You do just cook lightly seasoned cooked eggplant.
It depends how it's prepared. Oh my God, I thought of one. Brussels sprouts.
Oh God, that's a great one.
Yeah, because Brussels sprouts are gross unless they're fried.
Can I be honest with you? I've decided that Brussels sprouts are never good. I go back to
No.
my childhood.
No.
I was right. It's one thing I was right about as a kid. Brussels sprouts not good.
No, you're
You know why
wrong.
they're good? If you soak anything in enough oil and bacon bits and like balsamic and God knows what else, it's going to be
Caramelized
pretty
shallots.
good. Caramelized shallots. Yeah, you're not eating the Brussels sprout anymore.
Yeah.
You think of Brussels sprouts as the stuff that's around the Brussels sprout. The actual Brussels sprout is crap.
Oh no, I love a fried Brussels sprout. I don't care what you say. But so are we saying that Genevieve and Justin are Brussels sprouts, like you're trying to prepare it and it just never gets to the point where it's
It's a
fried?
steamed Brussels sprout. Oh. That you're about to, like, first you steam it and then you prepare the toppings. It's just steamed Brussels sprout.
It's the worst.
Thank you. And you know what? Things that are just on their own and are terrible are things that aren't good.
Is that the lesson of the day?
Yes, I think Socrates said that. But I'm serious. A Brussels sprout steamed should taste like not terrible. Think
Like
about
most
other
vegetables,
things.
yeah.
Steamed spinach,
Yeah.
it's fine. Steamed broccoli, fine.
Yeah. No, you're right.
You know, and I'm not thinking of money vegetables. I'm thinking of the vegetables that kids don't want to
This
eat.
isn't even a great example though, because Brussels sprouts, like to steam Brussels sprouts isn't that much work. It's like it needs to be something that's a lot of work.
Right. A cake. Back to my
Okay, we're
original.
back to where we started.
So this is why you don't mess with my analogies. This is what happens.
Okay, maybe the Shandies will tune in with what the perfect food preparation analogy is for Genevieve and Justin and how much work it is to go into a relationship that clearly isn't worth it.
Eggplant was also a good example, but got shut down.
Genevieve and Shanae vent to each other now, and Shanae says she's in a similar boat to Genevieve in that James is all in on her, and that feels good. It feels good to be wanted, and she needs reassurance, and she gets that from James, but not Logan. And Andy, you groaned here.
You know, it's like I'm going to make the analogy of a used car salesman.
Okay.
You go to a used car dealership, and the guy's like, you know, oh, I got this. I look at you, you look beautiful today. Can I get you some coffee? You want some cake? You
A
know,
red car to go with your red dress.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. I can imagine you driving this car. And then you like get the car and you're like, oh my God, this guy at the dealership was so wonderful. He just gave me so much reassurance. So it's so nice.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, the car broke down 5 minutes out of the dealership.
Yeah.
But this guy, so much reassurance. No, it's not the used car salesman that you should be interested in. It's the car. Is that car good? Does it have a good engine?
Yeah.
Does it drive well? Is it nice? Is it comfortable? That's what you want.
I mean, that's another great analogy, Andy. That was good dating advice.
Yeah. It's for all things.
You should write a book. But I've got to say, as a fellow words of affirmation person, like I've dated guys who did not give me that kind of like affection, the validation. And I know that it's a problem. Like if you need it, you don't even want to have to ask for it. That's
Right.
why it's sort of already over with these relationships with Justin and Logan, even though we'll get to Logan later. Like I just think that you shouldn't have to ask. That's what I feel I've learned. Like now that I'm in my 30s, I wish I could tell my 20-something self that lesson.
Yeah, don't ask. If you need
Yeah.
to ask, there's a problem. Or maybe you're asking too much.
Yeah.
And you're not looking at the goods. You're not looking at the car.
Shanae and Logan finally talk. She asks why he's making no effort. She gives him a lot of effort, and he doesn't do that for her. He says, well, I don't know how your date went. She says she wants him to be assertive. He says she went on a date, and they're her options to weigh. Ooh, I wrote way wrong. Oof.
W-A-Y?
Yeah, I mean, when I'm writing this, it's like, and I saw that and I'm like, ugh. She says it's a two-way street. Did he like miss her or anything? And he says, what is he supposed to think after she went out with someone else and said it was great? And she says they're going around in circles and she leaves. And we see Logan having a little remorse. He seems to really process it. This conversation goes a lot more productively than Genevieve's with Justin. He's pretty much like, oh, so we're counting kisses now?
Another mature episode with Logan.
I love how we always turn any Logan scene into a chance for an I told you so for us. Jill finds a date card now, and it is for Ashley and Jared. And Casey in his ITM says, the only people who do not need a date. And James in his ITM, meanwhile, says that they deserve it. They're in love. They have what they're all there for. I just thought the contrast of these two ITMs was really interesting. James is also going in like Aaron. He's rebranding himself as like a good, sincere guy. And I don't know, Casey really was on the up and up for me in these two episodes. I love how he was like, the married couple, like, why are they getting a date?
Yeah, he was saying all the right things.
He was. It was true. And look, I have no issue with Ashley and Jared going on a date, but I don't see why it needed to arrive like a date card for contestants and then
that's
go
just
to the
torture.
Well, Andy, dearshandy.com is purchased. It's sitting there. It's languishing, but it will be turned into a website, we think, relatively soon. And while we do not know yet the who, the what, or the when, we do know the where. And that is with Squarespace.
No doubt.
We bought the domain through Squarespace. We already know the entire website will be built using one of their gorgeous templates, which makes a website innately look professional and put together, even if you have little to no skill.
I mean, it takes most of the worry and fretting out of building a website.
Yeah, and don't you love too that they even have the option for a shop, an online shop? Because we do want to think about merch. A lot of you have been asking about merch. Yeah. And we already know that through Squarespace, they have an online store option where you can do product and checkout and everything within Squarespace. And they have great blog features and they have great booking features in case you provide a service that needs to be booked.
There are certain things in life where you just need your hand held. I don't want to learn. I just don't have the time. I don't have the interest. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I would pay not to know how to build a website. I want someone to hold my hand through the whole process.
Yes.
Never let go.
Yeah.
Squarespace gives you a firm hand grip from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Of a complete website with e-commerce if you want it that looks beautiful.
Yes. That's right.
Amen.
So head to squarespace.com/Shandy for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use offer code Shandy to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain.
Again, that's squarespace.com/Shandy and use offer code Shandy to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
So Andy, this is an actual conversation we had the other night, but you said to me, where would we be without HelloFresh?
I did say that.
This actually happened. I'm not making this up because I was plotting out the days and delivery dates for our HelloFresh meals while we're in Colorado for an opera. And we do want to get 1 box a week delivered there so that we're not eating out every single meal, and we will have a kitchen on the road. And I got to say, I think that's an underrated feature with these meal delivery kits is the fact that you can have them delivered to wherever you will be traveling. As long as you have a kitchen and olive oil and salt, you're pretty much good to go.
And even if you do want to eat in, it's cheaper than groceries usually.
Yes.
You know what we would have a lot less of without HelloFresh?
What?
Money.
It's actually really affordable, and I love that there's no food waste. It's always the exact right amount. And honestly, HelloFresh has served as cooking lessons for both of us in some ways.
And home-cooked meals are inherently healthier.
They are. You know what's going in them. You can add more or less oil or salt or butter or whatever.
And I'll tell you something. You know what? It's good to learn how to cook. Like if you don't know how to cook and you get HelloFresh, you're forced to learn how to cook.
You're being forced.
It's like learning a language with immersion.
Yes.
Like you don't even have to learn how to cook. You just learn how to cook because you're cooking so much.
Totally. Very good. Very good.
Thank you.
So go to HelloFresh.com/Shandy65 and use code Shandy65. That's 65 to get 65% off plus free shipping.
That's HelloFresh.com/Shandy65 and use code Shandy65 for 65% off plus free shipping.
Ashley and Jared now go on this date. They walk on the beach and there's lots of reminiscing because, of course, it happens to be the beach that they had their first date on. They kiss a lot and go jet skiing. And Andy, you said, why is this happening? There's a lot of debate over Ashley's peeing in the ocean technique.
I mean, to put this to rest, Jared's right. You should wade out and pee, but we don't have to talk about it.
They toast and drink champagne. And Andy, here you said, is this making them money? And you meant the show, not the couple. You said, I'm not going to judge a trashy reality show on what they do to make money, but is this money content?
Yeah. I understand that Jared and Ashley are very popular, as they should be. They're great. But is this usage of them getting like eyeballs? Is that a good use of them? And did they think this through from a money perspective?
And you're talking about the powers that be.
Yeah. Like everything's money. They want to make money. This is show business.
Yeah.
It's not show.
Yes.
So the business of this show said, this is going to make us more money. And I disagree.
Okay. So I feel like it probably made them more money just in the fact that they probably, when they first filmed this show, I wonder if they knew that it would be back-to-back episodes, like 11 episodes total. You know, back in the early Paradise days, it was like 7-8 episodes a season. And now we have these 4-hour weeks where it just feels like they're like grasping at straws and what to do to fill it.
Right.
And it felt like they were like, oh, actually, so that doesn't make sense. They probably knew about all the hours because they did have them fly in to be on the show.
Yeah, it suddenly caught them by surprise. Wow, we have so many hours. What are we going to do with this?
Yeah, it feels like they were just trying to fill the hours. And so they brought them in because they're kind of a sure thing. Like Ashley and Jared deliver content. Like they do, Ashley gives great face expressions. They give good commentary. Question. They're not afraid to poke fun at themselves and just be jokesters in general. But I felt like the Ashley Jared thing could have been an in passing, like they showed up once, talked to people, and then had like a nice romantic date where like pretty much the conversation they have here about how they've changed in the last 7 years. She says he's really come into his own. He's more confident. He credits her with that. And then they laugh, cry. They talk about parenthood, how much they love their baby. Like this was really quite touching. Yeah. And I feel like this could have been done in one scene, in one episode. Yeah. And I would have been just as, if not more moved. But instead, because of all like this like ongoing saga about them in the boom boom room and them debating little things and how much sex they're having and having private time, and it was overexposure. It was. They didn't leave you wanting more, which doesn't do them justice because they're good TV.
I agree. I honestly felt like it was a plug for their upcoming reality TV show.
Or Audrey's Coffee Lounge.
Oh, yeah. There wasn't enough talk about the lounge. I still don't know where to get that coffee.
Okay, so back at the beach, Sierra, Victoria, and Lace talk. And Victoria tells Sierra that she's definitely going to wind up engaged at the end of this.
Normal thing to say.
My favorite part is...
That's why I go to any party I go. I'm like, hey, guys, great to see you. I'm definitely going to get engaged by the end of this party. No question.
Sierra says she couldn't possibly accept an engagement without Michael's son being a part of all that, but she knows that she would be, quote, a bomb-ass stepmom. Sierra and Michael now talk, and the gist is that they're good. This is real, yada, yada. And Andy, you said, where's Brittany? Aaron finds a date card and says, and that's facts. Andy, we all know how you feel about catchphrases. The date card is for Brandon. And he immediately asks Serene, and then they walk off hand in hand with a black box following her. And Michael and Wells chat now. Michael reveals he's conflicted. And Andy, you were very excited by this. You're like, I knew it! You're supposed to be rooting for love stories, Andy.
Look, I saw it coming from a mile away. But I'm sure everyone else did too.
I mean, I feel like I was like buying what I was being sold with the two of them, but I also wanted to believe it. Yeah. But I will admit, I don't know if I really saw it like going the distance, but it's like they seem to have nice conversations and stuff. They had good chemistry.
Yeah.
We thought the build up to the kiss was good.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all fine. Whatever. Total bullshit.
Michael says things are starting to get really serious this early on, and Sierra's been saying things like, quote, I'd make a great stepmom. Michael says to Wells, but I don't know how to love someone again. The gist is Michael needs more time to figure this out. And so now it's the evening. Brandon's ready for his date, and we hear people saying he really deserves this. And Andy, you said, so the couple that met before coming there deserves it? Sierra emerges looking beautiful in a red cocktail dress. Yeah. And she's such a vision that Brandon starts to cry. And in general, they're all lovey-dovey. I will say
did you just say Sierra? You said Sierra.
Oh, I wrote Sierra. Well, thank you. Good catch.
Thank you. I'm listening.
Did you get that out?
I swallowed it.
Ew.
It wasn't the kind that would be ew to swallow. It was a thin, like I know what color it was. It wasn't
clear.
gross. It was clear and fine.
All right. Not worth getting up.
Trust me. I know when to get up and spit it out.
Not worth
I
exerting.
had a couple of those this morning.
Brandon and Serena on their date now. They marvel at how beautiful the dinner is. The dinner in water scene.
Yeah, what's with the dinner and water? Is that a good thing? I feel like after that dinner, your feet would be so pruned.
I wonder what it would be like to have the food and drink arrive. Like I would feel annoying asking for things, like another glass of wine. Or
Yeah, and every time you have to get up to go to the bathroom, it's like you're sloshing through the water to get to the. I don't like this.
And as they toast, Andy, you said, "Now let's kill some fireflies." He calls her the biggest and most beautiful blessing, and that he doesn't know what he would do without her. He's crazy about her. She sighs and says, "Wow." She says it's so easy, special. He's gone out of his way. When he grabs himself lunch, he gets her lunch too.
That's nice.
That is nice. Yeah. He says he's falling in love with her. He's happy his life has led him to her. She says she's falling in love with him too. She's never felt so special in her life. He says that he's all hers. They make out. And Andy, you and I agree that they are made for each other.
They sure are.
I really can totally see this lasting.
I stan it.
You stan it. Back at the beach, Michael and Sierra head to a daybed where they stargaze, something that she had planned. Mm-hmm. She says she knows how he struggles with not wanting to forget his memories with Laura, so she happened to have purchased him 3 stars.
Yeah, that's a big gift.
In his, Laura's, and James' names.
Mm-hmm.
James's names.
James's names.
James's names. He's super touched by this. I gotta say though, this is a really sweet gift, but I find it so funny that humans do this.
Yeah, those stars are mine.
I claim that star. Money can buy that star.
Yeah, that's a giant, like, million-mile wide ball of like nuclear fusion.
Yeah.
But I now own it.
Who has the
For
right?
$50.
Who has the right to sell that star? Who's the person making money on selling people's stars to use as gifts?
It's quite amazing. It's a great idea. That person is very smart and very scummy.
Michael says her energy is infectious and he's been enjoying his time with her, but at the same time, quote, some things take time. He says there's something missing with them and he knows she can feel him holding back. And she sort of nods understandingly here. Michael says, quote, I'm trying to find a way back to happiness. And the thing that scares me most is I'm using people that I actually care about to help me get there and I'm hurting them along the way. And it's messing with me. I care so much about you. I don't want you to be one of those. Michael says he needs space from the romantic pressure. He just wants to be friends. He doesn't want to hurt her. She says, okay. They walk back to the crowd and Sierra fills everyone in and says goodbye. Michael runs to the entrance to catch her before she leaves. She's got her suitcases. They hug goodbye. And in her voiceover, Sierra says, when you care about someone, you respect their needs. She takes this unbelievably well. And in her ITM, she says, I also don't want to see him dating other people, so I'd rather go home. Okay, we have to talk about this for a second. Because why is Sierra the one leaving?
Yeah.
In my opinion, based on how that conversation went down, he was pretty much saying, I am still trying to find my way back to a point where I can be in love with someone.
This is an interesting point you make. And I don't want to shit on Michael, but he should be the one leaving because he clearly is not ready for a relationship.
Well,
so what is he there for? To narrate?
Yeah, but
Casey's got that job.
Here's the thing. I feel like if Michael just didn't see it with Sierra, he should have said that instead of making it sound like he just wasn't ready to get, he didn't want to use people on the way to his healing. So in my opinion, just based on why they broke up, Michael should have been the one to leave. And that's not to say I don't want to watch Michael on my screen. I just think fair is fair. Why is Sierra the one leaving? She's the one that's ready for a relationship.
I mean, Sierra is a class act. She wanted to leave and, that's her decision.
Yeah.
And look, I've never been through what Michael's been through. I hope I'm never through that. But I don't think that if he met the person of his dreams, he would use that excuse. He would just be like, I'm into this.
Yeah.
This is great. I'm happy. But what Michael said to her doesn't line up with him being the one staying.
Yes, exactly. In my opinion, in our opinion.
Shandy's opinion.
Back at the beach now, everyone speculates over what this all means. One less woman means one less rose.
It's like an Irish drinking song. Like, one less woman on the beach means one less rose for the men. Two less women on the beach
Two fewer women.
Oh, shit. Means 2 fewer men for the rose. 3 less women on the beach. Means 3 fewer roses for the men.
Good job.
4 fewer roses on the beach.
Is that the song? Okay, so while I commend your on-the-spot composition, Andy, I feel like you need a little more meat in that song.
Oh, yeah. It needs
It's
to go
like,
to the woodshed.
you know, like 5 little monkeys jumping on the bed. One fell off and bumped his head. Called the doctor, and the doctor said, no more monkeys jumping on the bed. 4 little monkeys jumping on the bed. And then it goes down to 3, 2, 1.
Right.
You like need a little more like something in there.
Oh,
It can't just be like
no one agrees
one-
more than I do. I'm doing what I can here.
Okay, Ashley and Jared return from their date. They are determined to have sex in paradise. And they reveal that they did have sex on their wedding night. They're all proud of themselves.
Yeah.
So Jared sets up the boom boom room with candles and rose petals. And then when Ashley turns in for the night, turns in?
Turns in, yeah.
Yeah, did I say
Yeah,
that right?
that's right. Yeah.
God, there's so many little colloquialisms in
Turns
English.
in makes no sense. Like if
Yeah.
you're from another country, they're like, oh yeah, turns in for the night means you're going to sleep. They're like, okay, that makes no sense. I'll say it, but there's no basis in logic for that.
Yeah, even as it came out of my mouth, I was like, that sounds wrong.
Yeah, makes no sense.
Okay.
But it's okay.
So Ashley turns in.
Yeah.
Is for the night redundant then?
No, I think it's turns in for the night is the whole thing.
Okay.
It's a lot of wasted time
Okay.
to say she's going to sleep.
So Ashley turns in for the night. And we had to point out that the bed where Jared is now snoring has no rose petals and we don't see any candles
Yeah,
around.
there's a lack of continuity
Yes.
here that I demand in my Bachelor in Paradise.
In the credits now, Shanae and Genevieve are laughing about their past feud. They're basically friends now and they hug it out. And I wrote, once again, bad storytelling. This conclusion should have been in the credits of last week's episode.
Agreed.
So when they had all the hype about their feud, then the credits roll around with their friendship at the end.
Right.
It so drives me crazy.
Yeah.
It's
I
like
don't
storytelling
stand this
101,
friendship.
arcs, lots of little arcs.
Yeah. I agree.
They put all their arc effort towards Ashley and Jared.
Yeah, there was a stiff arc there. It had to do with basically just farting.
So now it's episode 5. The episode picks up with the guys seeming nervous about how few women there are. And Michael's basically like, I'm seeing this thing through. So that's his explanation for why he's still there.
Seeing it through.
Yeah, he's seeing it through.
Seeing what through?
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, what if Sierra hadn't left? Like, he's lucky she left because now he can sort of
Look,
date
am
in
I
peace.
to fault Michael for wanting more TV time? I'm not going to fault him.
But I don't even feel like that's what Michael wants. Like, I wonder if he was convinced to stay.
Oh, that's very possible.
It's actually super possible. I can really
Look,
picture
I think
the
Michael's a solid guy. I
Yeah,
think whatever
yeah.
he does is based on some decent human decision.
absolutely.
Yeah. So the producers are like, please, Michael, just stick around. The 2 scenarios, and both are totally reasonable. One is he's like, you know what? TV is good. It's a good thing.
I don't picture him caring that much.
I don't. Yeah, that's the 40% of the 60-40, and I think 60% producers like Michael. You got it. You please, my brother,
Please stay.
stick around, please. And he's like, all right, fine.
Going into this season, I thought this would be Michael's arc, speaking of arcs, towards becoming Bachelor. But him ending things with Sierra for the reasons he did makes me think that he can't become Bachelor down the road.
There's got to be a reason. Like Michael was such an obvious pick for Bachelor. There's got to be a
Yes.
reason from Michael
Yeah.
why he's not Bachelor, and I think it's because he's not ready for a relationship, which I believe.
Yeah.
I think he's a sincere guy. I believe him when he says that.
Yes.
But that begs the question:
Why is he still there?
here for narration? Because if he is, he's taking Casey's job,
Yes, okay.
stealing my jobs.
Justin says, I need an angel to drop down from the paradise heavens. And Andy, you said, what about Brittany? We learn
What about Brittany?
we learn what about Brittany soon, thankfully.
Yeah.
Anyway, first though, Sally arrives. It's in the evening, by the way, an
yeah,
evening
an
arrival.
evening arrival,
By the way,
rare.
which tells us that they needed something to happen. I honestly feel like they were scrambling. It feels like the powers that be are scrambling because nothing is happening.
They made Ashley and Jared take the brunt of their lack of footage.
Yes. So Jesse asks Sally, how does it feel to be here? And she says, it feels good. And Andy, you scoffed. Jesse says she was supposed to be there day 1. What happened? She says she had to, quote, take care of some things with work. And Jesse says, okay, and nods. Jesse asks, how many flights did she not get on to be there? And she says, 3.
Wow.
She did not board 3 flights to be there. And Andy, you were concerned by this because you said she sounds like a nightmare.
I mean, am I wrong?
I mean, I feel like she's probably a producer's nightmare, but they really got their revenge. You could tell the producers were annoyed with her, and that is reflected in the rest of this episode, or at least in the next half hour of this episode.
That's a good point. I
Yeah.
didn't think of it that way, but you're right.
You do not want to piss off producers.
No.
They will get their revenge
And
on
how
you.
easy was it for them to get their revenge on her? It's not like she was a lead. Like they had to
No.
respect the lead. They were just like, oh, you're mincemeat.
Oh, yeah, they were ready to throw her to the wolves.
And I don't blame them. I don't blame them. I feel bad for Sally, but I don't blame production. I would have been pissed too. Think about the logistics of that.
One of the best examples of how you shouldn't piss off producers, because it'll be reflected in your edit, is my own bachelor, Juan Pablo.
Yeah.
I genuinely believe that his edit was like 80% because
Oh yeah,
he pissed off the
notoriously difficult with production.
he was really difficult, and they didn't like that. And they will definitely get their revenge. And so that's how it felt, honestly. Anyway, you said she sounded like a nightmare. I said she looks a lot like Emily Maynard, who you don't know, but she does, trust me.
Trust
And
me.
now Sally arrives, and Justin and Sally are at the bar. She asks how he's been, and he says stressed. And she's like, stressed in paradise?
Yeah, how's that possible?
She has so much to learn, young grasshopper. The guys chat now and ask if Justin is interested, and he says he is. I mean, Sally's beautiful.
Yeah.
She's got that classic. I actually think had Sally played her cards differently, she could have become a bachelorette one day. She has that all-American blonde look. I mean, the person I'm comparing her to, Emily Maynard, it was a bachelorette.
Yeah, she's super bachelory.
Yeah, and I feel like she, I don't know, maybe should have really snipped things off with her ex before embarking on this world, I guess.
Yeah.
Wait, what was the reason she left Clayton season? Oh, it was because she'd recently ended her engagement, right?
Yeah, and she wasn't ready.
Yeah. Yeah, she should have waited another year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm confused by her. She seems like she really hungers for the camera, but at the same time shuns it.
It kind of feels like she's trying to use the show as some sort of revenge. Like there's a lot of revenge happening. It feels like production's getting revenge on her for being difficult, and meanwhile she's trying to use the show as revenge on her ex or something.
Yeah, I think I don't think we're ever going to get the truth from Sally.
No.
But I do think there's some very like meta strategy going on with
Yes,
her.
which we will get to shortly, actually. But when you say you don't think we'll get truth from Sally, Sally is pretty good at fudging the truth on the spot.
Yeah.
But I don't actually have an issue with that in this
No,
context.
I mean, everyone fudges the truth on the spot. That's the best fudger of the truth is the one who wins Bachelor in Paradise. It should be called Fudging the Truth in Paradise or in Mexico, either one.
And now Sally, Genevieve, and Shanae chat. They ask why she missed 3 flights in getting there, and she says because of work. And Genevieve in her ITM is like, I know she's lying because of Wells' story. And now we get a flashback of the Sally saga, the Sally suitcase saga. Believe it or not, this is the thing. It starts getting very meta.
Yeah.
These flashbacks.
Flashback of a flashback.
Shanae asks Sally if she has any interest in any of the guys there, and Sally says she doesn't know. She's at the point in her life where she doesn't want to date unless she sees the end with them. Some subtly villainous music playing here. So we're sort of being told that Sally is like playing both sides, I guess.
Yeah.
Like she's not done with her ex-fiance or whatever.
Oh, clearly.
Because she didn't come in being like, I want to date so-and-so.
Yeah.
She just wants to see what happens. I mean, she
Bastard.
literally just arrived.
It's ridiculous.
She just
This plays
arrived.
into the revenge theory.
Yes.
She's being set up right away.
Yeah.
There's no chance.
oh, yeah.
Yeah. Firing squad.
Justin approaches and pulls Sally to chat. Meanwhile, Genevieve and Shanae discuss what a liar Sally is. Andy, you have a theory here that Sally's ex is in on it.
Yeah. I do.
Do you want to explain this?
Yeah, I think that he was like, look, you can go on this stupid show, but like we have to have an understanding. You're just going on for, Instagram followers or whatever you get from this, and you're not going to do anything. And she's like, 100%, I promise, I swear, don't worry about it, we're fine. And he's like, all right, fine, do it.
Maybe they're still together and he gets off on the idea
Well,
of
if they are, then my theory is right. There's no question.
I just really don't picture Sally and whoever she's with being like that. I think it's more likely that this is
That's
an
too
on
high
and
level.
off. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's too
Yeah.
They're not evolved enough for him to be a cuckold.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, not even a cuckold, like a theoretical cuckold. It's not even.
It does feel like they have that kind of relationship that we all know, or even the tail end of a relationship that we all know, where it's like on again and off again. They're probably talking more than they should. They're not cutting the cord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might be simpler. It might just be that she finally broke it off and she went on the show.
Okay, so we'll keep going. Genevieve and Shanae take it upon themselves to get to the bottom of this. So at the bar, Genevieve says that they have questions for her. And Sally's like, for me?
A little old me.
And Genevieve asks if she was talking with her ex before this. And Sally's expression immediately darkens.
No.
And she says, well, I work with him. And she says that she felt she owed him a conversation out of respect for him before coming out there. And she promptly walks away now. And Shanae's like, pfft. Shanae and Genevieve talk about why she's there, speculating she's there for the wrong reasons. And Shanae in her ITM says, like, is he even her ex? Sally now circles back and says, oh, get the cameras ready. There's an interesting just little exchange here because she says, get the cameras ready. And Genevieve's like, yeah, the cameras, they're going to be around wherever. And then Sally's like, yeah, I can see that. It's an interesting moment where you almost feel this like power dynamic where Genevieve's like, I've been through more of this than you. Yeah. Don't you talk about the cameras. I know better than you.
Yeah, that's true.
Sally says if people can't understand why she had respect for the person she was with before this, then she's out. Genevieve says she had to ask because there are so many people there for good reasons.
So many people.
Sally says there are also a lot of people here for the wrong reasons. They just don't say it.
Thank you. No, that's a slow one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's slow.
Does it accelerate?
Yeah, it always accelerates.
Slow claps always accelerate?
I think so. Let me think. Let me just see what it's like to have a slow clap
Okay.
that never accelerates. No, that's cynical. That's cynical.
It's sarcastic.
Yeah, you're saying like that's bullshit.
Isn't that funny that without an acceleration, it's the polar opposite meaning?
Yeah.
The slow clap's like,
Yeah, it has to accelerate.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it never accelerates, you're just dissing them.
Yes. So we really agreed with what Sally said here.
Yeah.
It's so true. Genevieve and the rest of them are all there just to find love. Give me a break.
Give me a break.
She says she's heard plenty about the people on that beach that she would never air. And even if they did have dirt, she doesn't care about their dirt. She's not there to throw anyone else under the bus. She says this is exactly why she didn't get on 3 flights and walks away. I'm so torn. Like, part of me is like, yeah, go, Sally, go, because I think she's totally right. But I also suspect that there is some truth to maybe her not really being out of things with her ex. I don't know.
But who cares?
Yeah, that's the thing is I don't care about that at all. I think that she just pissed off the wrong people by being really difficult.
And I wouldn't be surprised if production told Genevieve, like, you guys, you should confront her about this.
I think you're right. I think that Sally's perception of the situation is that the other women were in cahoots with the powers that be. Mm-hmm. Because in this conversation with Justin next, well, first Romeo descends on Sally.
Oh.
And Andy, you said the vultures are circling.
Yes.
But now Justin finds Sally and chats with her. And Genevieve, meanwhile, of course, being the skeptic that she is, thinks that Justin's only trying to convince Sally to stay so he can get a rose. Genevieve, I find a little bit exhausting. She never gives anyone the benefit of the doubt. Like, it felt like last week she was all upset about Sally coming because Justin would run away with her. But now if Justin's going to Sally, it's only because he wants a rose. It's not because he genuinely cares about her.
Yeah.
It's like it's always the worst case scenario cast on anyone, I guess. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Sally reveals to Justin now that they, we think the powers that be, knew that she didn't want her ex mentioned on the show, and they didn't listen to her one request. A lot of fourth wall breakage here.
Yeah.
And Justin seems to be on her side. He says, literally the second you walked in the door. The use of they, I get the impression that Sally, you know, obviously she doesn't know about the saga of Sally's suitcase and the fact that Wells told the story, but it's clear that she sees Genevieve and Shanae as arms of the producers in immediately bringing up her ex. Okay, so meanwhile, Genevieve, Shanae, and James are all talking shit about Sally. James says, you're on a dating show. Your dating history is going to come out whether you like it or not. He complains about her acting like she's got it all figured out. He says, quote, you've been here for 15 minutes. You were part of The Bachelor for 20 minutes. Let's slow down.
Yeah, he's really getting on his high horse there.
It's so funny how they're like the elders of paradise. They're like, we've been around the block. We know a thing or two. I mean, especially James. James knows a thing or two.
I mean, he
about
does know a
paradise.
thing or two. He's been watching and narrating the show for like 2 years.
I find it a little condescending. It's like because Sally didn't really live through her bachelor experience, what the hell does she know? It kind of reminds me of when people like talk down to like night one people for getting eliminated night one.
But it's also,
like,
what's he dissing her for? For being a normal human? Like, you don't
guess so.
understand how to do this. This is a show. You're supposed to be acting. Like, you don't get it.
Oh, you're making a good point.
Yeah, like if anything, a newbie is the one who gets it more than anyone. Like just act like yourself. Act like you're a normal person.
I will give this to Sally. She did act like
She acted like a normal person. Like that was a normal. Everything she did was a normal person reaction to what was happening.
right down to the fact that she left.
Yeah.
She was like, I don't want to put up with this. I don't trust the power. I don't trust you guys. The one thing I requested, you didn't honor. If I'm going to be attacked, like I'm out.
Yeah.
And even later on, you hear, I think Genevieve saying like, I've thought about leaving before. It's like, but why are you staying?
Yeah, but I have Instagram followers to think about.
Yeah, I actually find it endearing when a contestant's like, I want out, and they just leave. Like Teddy last week.
I got to be honest, not endearing, noble. Like Sally just left like 100,000 Instagram followers on the table. She's like, I don't care. I'm done.
She actually literally did, especially because she's blonde.
Yeah, that's right away 100,000.
Which means her rate will be more accelerated than others.
It's true. It's true.
James calls Sally a loose cannon. Meanwhile, we hear Sally asking to be demiked, and she officially leaves. She was not bluffing.
No.
Unlike Genevieve, who always threatens to leave in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Sally actually leaves. I think what I liked so much about Sally's very brief appearance on this episode is the fact that she was breaking fourth walls everywhere she turned.
Yeah.
My one request with them, they knew my one request. And then she talks about a lot of people being there for the wrong reasons. And she also talks about the camera. She's like, oh, look, the camera's circling. Like, I love this stuff. And I just appreciated that not only did she bring it about, but that they showed it. I think they showed it to make her look bad, but it made me like her more.
It was refreshing to see. It was real.
Yes. Okay, so now it's the next day. We now see Polly dragging Sally's suitcase into a car. It drives off with a seatbelt on it. Everyone thinks the suitcase is way funnier than it is. This hard shell suitcase, Andy.
Oh, I know. Terrible.
Okay, Andrew, Justin, and Rodney now talk about how low the morale is. They need more women. Cue. Pizza Peter finally arrives. Yay.
Pizza Peter. It doesn't roll off the tongue. It should be Pizza Pete.
Well, you're saying that because we have a pizza place near us called Pizza Pete's.
Yeah, but they don't have a trademark on Pizza Pete. He could have called himself Pizza Pete.
Pizza Peter. I don't know if he calls himself Pizza Peter. I just called him Pizza Peter.
Oh, so you think he may call himself Pizza Pete?
Well, his occupation on the show was pizzapreneur.
Let's get on with it.
Okay, Casey says he couldn't be more excited to not be excited about Peter being there. He says with all the women dwindling and the men amassing, Peter's timing could not be worse. Peter pulls Victoria first. Meanwhile, Casey says that Peter will surely be mentioning his pizza restaurant immediately. And we see that play out with Victoria quickly here. Peter and Shanae now talk about gold and diamonds. And in her ITM, Shanae calls him arrogant. She says, no thanks. And now Peter and Brittany talk. Finally, Brittany is getting some airtime under interesting circumstances. She shows a lot of interest in his pizza business. She asks questions, and he seems to love this. And in her ITM, Brittany says that she's interested. And Andy, you immediately said something's wrong with her.
She's had how long in real time? A week now?
Yeah.
A week on this beach with all these guys. I'm not saying they're all, A+ guys, but there's some decent guys there. And this is when she gets excited. I am ashamed.
I think you might be underestimating the appeal of fresh meat around there. No? Especially since I think we are starting to gather from the Paradise experience that everyone sort of starts forming their like cliques of friends, and the guys don't really put in the effort after a while. Even when they don't have roses.
I mean, I get it.
And then you get this like fresh-faced guy who asks you on a date. I can see how you'd be like, ooh, finally, this is my time.
All right, fine.
I
agree
with
to me, it's more
you.
like rancid meat, but whatever.
I mean, I agree with you. It's hard to imagine a world in which Peter would be an appealing candidate.
Yeah.
Anyway, he asks her on the date and she says yes. Yeah. And Casey in his ITM says that he would be shocked if this goes well. Jared and Wells now talk. They talk about how you lose your individuality when you have kids. He doesn't feel sexy anymore. And Wells says that he has the dad bod. And now we see a random shot of Tanner from Jade and Tanner.
What was that?
Janner.
He looked fine.
Anyway, we learn that they still haven't boomed in the boom boom room.
Yeah. There's been boom, boom, but not boom, boom.
So anticipating Brittany's arrival now, Peter in his ITM says, I can't wait to share myself with her. Tell her stories about me, my story, my life story, and how I've come to where I'm at today. Brittany in her ITM says that she's so excited. And Andy, you were beside yourself throughout all this. Peter and Brittany now go on their date. They go on a yacht and drink champagne. Andy, you were observing how Peter has to drink out of a champagne glass the same way you do.
It's the only endearing thing about Peter. That he actually can't drink out of the champagne glass like a normal person. We have big noses. People with big noses have to, it's like, you have to either go really high up or you have to just basically stuff your nose and your mouth into the champagne glass. We've discussed this.
Back at the beach, Casey says, while Peter may have some luck in paradise, though he's doubtful, he really doesn't like Peter. Quote, like fundamentally, I think he's a douchebag, unquote.
That's the right way to not like Peter, is fundamentally.
He says he annoys the shit out of him and he calls him a little bitch, a one-note character who only talks about himself. I wrote, Casey's disdain for Peter is pretty amusing.
Yeah.
It would be different, again, if we saw this other facet of Peter that proved Casey wrong. But everything Casey complains about Peter
He
shows.
delivers.
Yeah, he really does deliver. I kind of enjoyed how Casey he just let her rip with Peter.
Yeah, which is what he should have done. Someone needed to do that.
That's the thing, is I think everyone was being a little too polite. And finally you have Casey being like, this guy only talks about himself. He only talks about his business. He sucks.
Yeah. Tell it like it is when someone sucks that bad.
Yes.
There's no non-sucking about Peter.
So back on the date, Peter says, this is in the water. This is golden. He says, so what's the first thing you noticed about me? He's taking a page out of Aaron's book from last year.
He upped it, though. He raised Aaron.
Like crazy, actually.
Yeah.
Brittany says his aquamarine eyes. He's like, oh, I won best eyes in high school.
What kind of prizes are they giving out in his high school? Like best eyes, best elbows.
And then he says, so what else? Just my eyes?
Unbelievable.
And she says, and your smile. What do you want me to say? It's so painful. It's so painful.
Is there any chance that he's playing a character?
No.
Or that's him. I'm trying to give him the benefit, just a shred of benefit of the doubt. But that's him. Unbelievable.
I feel that way about some other people, when they kind of suck on screen. I'm like, well, maybe this is what was going on behind the scenes. I really feel like Peter is this person.
Yeah, I believe so.
And I mean, that's why he's there, let's be honest. Brittany in her ITM says that she's never been on a date where the person was more interested in themselves. And she says he just kept bragging a lot and she was very turned off. And now they're sitting on the yacht. Peter tells her she's cute. She looks like a bright mermaid.
What does that mean? What the hell does that mean?
He takes her hand and tries to go in for a kiss with, quote, I have something for you.
Lucky her.
Honestly, when he said this, I was like, oh, God, make it stop.
Like you could hear all the vaginas drying up in America.
She swerves. We've learned that
Brittany
excels at the kiss swerve.
Yeah, that's 2 in a row. That's got to be a record, right? That's a record.
She goes in the same direction, too. She does this.
Yeah. I mean, you have to have a direction.
She says she's slow with that stuff. She hasn't kissed anybody yet. And Brittany in her ITM says that she's not a touchy-feely person unless she's really into someone. Peter didn't read the room, and she cannot wait to get back. Okay, so back on the beach, Jacob is working out. He is into Jill. He's trying to impress Jill. And Serene runs out having found a date card, and it has Jacob's name on it. The highlight of this whole episode now is shown. And it's to illustrate how Jill and Jacob have bonded. And it's a brief clip of them sitting on a daybed, discovering that their birthdays are 1 day apart.
Oh, yeah. That was cute.
This was so cute.
Yeah.
They're so kooky.
Yeah.
I love them together.
Me too. They found their people.
Yeah. So Jacob asks Jill on the date and they scream and run off together. And it's just like, it's refreshing. It's just finally some lightness, I guess. Casey says, if I know Peter, he just made Brittany deeply uncomfortable throughout the date. I mean, Casey's really going up in my
Truer words
books
have
here.
never been said.
Brittany and Peter now return, and everyone is grilling Brittany about how it was. And she says she wants to wait until Peter's not like in the vicinity before she tells them.
Yeah, but she has only good things to say.
I love how Andrew's like, oh, so it's like that. Brittany with the ladies now says it was a gorgeous environment, but Peter didn't read the room, and she recaps the conversation. Meanwhile, Peter, his version of the story, he's talking to the guys, namely Romeo and Casey, talking about how the conversation was flowing, but he was putting in all the work. And it got me thinking, people like him, do they see it that way? You know, people who only talk about themselves and don't ask any questions.
Are you asking if Peter is self-aware? That's what you're asking me, right? Okay.
No, but we all know people like this who only talk about themselves. They show no curiosity in anyone else. And his perception of this conversation was so shocking to me because I was like, wait, does he think that he was just like keeping the conversation going? Because I know how it feels to keep a conversation going, like when there's that lull, but usually that involves me asking questions. It's not just me volunteering information about myself and my life story and my story and more stories about me. So I don't know. I guess I wonder.
He believes it. He thinks he killed it. Always. Peter always thinks he killed it.
What's it like?
That's how he got to where he is. He shouldn't even have a pizza place. I'm sure there's half the guys in Long Island make better pizza than Peter, but he believes in everything he does. I envy that. I also am disgusted by it, but I also envy it. He thought he killed it.
Yeah.
He thought he was flowing. He thought he was like just a Romeo. Sorry.
Not maybe a Romeo, not Romeo.
Casanova. Let me use another name. Sorry. Leave Romeo out of this one.
Anyway, it just got me thinking. Like, you know when like you see two people who you are not your people, which is, I'll put it delicately. They're not your people. And you see them really got along.
Yeah.
I'm like, do they think that like, am I not their people? Do they feel about me the way I feel about them? In this case, it really got me thinking, does Peter really think that he was just trying to keep conversation going by talking about himself endlessly and showing no curiosity about her?
Peter is so unaware, unself-aware.
Yeah.
Self-unaware, whatever. You get what I'm saying.
Unself-aware.
Unself-aware. That he doesn't even realize that Casey and Romeo are clowning on him when they're recapping his date.
And it's delicious.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You could say anything you want to Peter, as long as you kind of, not stroke his ego, but at least
You
let his
humor
ego breathe.
Yeah, you humor him.
He'll keep going.
It's so true. Okay, so Brittany in her ITM now says that Peter is the exact opposite of what she wants in a person.
There should be dating profiles where like are you the opposite of Peter on Bachelor in Paradise? Then you're good.
Peter, meanwhile, tells Casey and Romeo that he thinks Brittany is there for the wrong reasons. She has an ulterior motive. She's a clout chaser. He says, quote, "Do I not have enough Instagram followers for you?" And Casey. I mean, Casey really, I just loved Casey this episode.
Yeah.
He says, "So you are convinced that that's the thing?" And Peter's like, yeah. He's totally clowning on him.
Doesn't realize it.
It's amazing. Andy, you're looking awfully cozy in your lounge pants over there.
You don't even know the half of it.
Ooh.
That's a very insulting thing to say to someone.
Yeah, especially since I was observing the thing that you're claiming I don't know anything about.
Yeah, I take that back. Yes, I am very cozy in my Cozy Earth pants.
Yes.
And not only am I cozy, but if you notice, I wear these, I mean, you notice more than anyone. Well, except for our viewers, but I wear these pants pretty much every day.
And they still look good as new.
No pilling, no discoloration, no
fading.
thinning.
That's annoying, actually, when it thins.
No thinning. They look like the way they were when I got them.
Also worth noting that those are viscose from bamboo. So they're unbelievably soft. They're not like just cotton and polyester or whatever. They're super squishy soft and they've stood the test of time. And that's why we also love Cozy Earth's bedding.
The bedding is out of this world. I mean, this is easy.
It's funny is before when we knew which ads we were reading, I was like, oh yes, Cozy Earth.
I mean, it's so not nothing against our sponsors. Our sponsors are all great.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, we only pick sponsors we like.
Yes.
We have too much shame. We've talked about this before.
Yes.
But
we particularly
Cozy Earth, we were literally like, oh, Cozy Earth? Pfft. We just got the towels. The towels
Waffle
are
knit.
incredible. The waffle knit towels.
Yes, and they're very absorbent, yet they're still lightweight.
And they dry out.
And their sheets truly, they've been on Oprah's most favorite things list for 4 years? For years in a row now. And we know Oprah has her pick of the litter with fancy bed sheets. And they have a 100-night sleep trial, so you can sleep on the sheets for 100 nights before deciding they're not for you somehow. And a 10-year warranty.
It's nuts.
It is crazy. And they are, I gotta say, more durable than the past sheets we've had. Past sheets, we start getting holes in them. You kick too much.
I apparently have like sharp toenails or something. I rip sheets.
It has not happened with Cozy Earth. They're really durable, yet so soft.
I challenge you. I challenge you to tell us something wrong about Cozy Earth. We can make it a game.
So for a limited time, our audience, the Shandies, can save 35% on Cozy Earth bedding.
Check out their awesome loungewear too.
Go to cozyearth.com/Shandy and enter promo code Shandy at checkout to save 35%.
All backed by a 100-night trial.
That's cozyearth.com/Shandy, SHANDY, and enter that code Shandy at checkout to save 35%. Peter in his ITM says he did everything, quote, on point. I was witty. I was smart. I was funny. I was charming. I was humble.
Most importantly.
He says if he were back home and he brought a girl on a yacht all day, insinuating that he would have gotten some action, I assume. And Andy, you were quick to point out that it's not Peter's yacht.
Yeah. If someone this guy he fucking sucks so bad. I was like stumbling over my words. There's too much to talk about how much he sucks. Let's just leave it at, generally speaking, we have nuanced takes on people. Even the worst people, I feel like there's some light.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it right now. There's no light for Peter. He sucks.
Well,
he sucks.
Stop
trying.
No, but what I'm focusing on here is how he acts like he gave her this date. You know what I mean? Like he bestowed upon her the gift of a ride on a yacht.
He did nothing.
Yeah.
He showed up. They dumped him on a yacht. He talked about himself for 3 hours and then expects her to be all over him.
Yeah.
He sucks.
Yeah.
He sucks. He sucks.
Can we also talk about too? Sorry, I keep trying to pick this apart in a nuanced way, even though I know there's very little nuance
There's no
here.
room for me.
But even if this were Peter's yacht,
yeah, he still doesn't deserve it.
right?
Yeah.
Let's say this were his yacht. He invited a girl on his yacht all day, and this is how he behaved. Let's say he had planned it. He had planned the date. He had bought the champagne. It was his yacht that was tethered to the dock or whatever. He drove the yacht. So in other words, he did way more to make this a romantic situation than he actually did. And he still behaved the same way. He still doesn't deserve it.
Doesn't deserve it. You know what I feel bad for? Is the women who fall for that, or not fall for it, but just get sucked in by it. Like imagine dating
Who
Peter.
could get sucked in by this? Like he has
People, you think Peter's not dated anyone? I bet you he's dated a bunch of people. Imagine having to deal with that every day, every week, every month.
Oh, girls that have dated him?
Yeah, imagine having to deal with that.
Yeah, but the
person.
chances are they're not like that's what I wonder is like his girlfriends who he has had, what were they like?
The question is the question is,
are we thinking about this too much?
No, I think we're thinking about the right amount. Is there a person that Peter is their thing? Like they're like, I've been looking for that.
I wonder.
I bet the women who've dated him are sucked in by his, award-winning
Pizza?
eyes. His eyes. No, he won the award for eyes. I don't think he's ever won an award for pizza. My guess is his eyes are better than his pizza. But, they're like, oh, beautiful eyes. They like his looks, he's physically attractive.
Is he?
And they allow the rest to slide. And they just get sucked in. And then eventually, even the people who are the most into his physical package eventually want to kill themselves. And that's the arc of his relationships.
I really genuinely hope that he gets a little self-awareness out of this whole experience.
You know what? And I still reserve the tiniest, because I always have to try. I have to try to see the good in these people. I reserve the tiniest kernel of hope that this is all an act. I hope it is.
Yeah.
And if it's not, you better do some work on yourself, Peter.
I guess what I find alarming is how he was called out on his season for only talking about his pizza business and only talking about himself and just promoting himself. And he ended up getting all these bad Yelp reviews. I don't know if you remember this for his pizza restaurant. But
Deserves it.
so I guess what I find alarming is that he hasn't he hasn't pulled an Aaron and James. He hasn't pulled a police department where he's like, oh, I see how you all see me. I'm going to play this differently. I'm going to rebrand myself. Like, this is his opportunity to rebrand himself. All he's doing is doubling down.
See, that's the thing. I refuse to believe anyone is that self-unaware. I'm giving him the shred of, I'm just giving him a little something. I hope I'm right. I kind of hope I'm wrong because his terribleness is kind of delicious.
It is delicious.
It's like a really stinky cheese, as you like to call it. Yeah.
Well, Peter thinks that it was all an act on Brittany's part. Meanwhile, we learn Andrew S. missed Brittany while she was gone. He missed her, quote, big ol' eyes that day. And now Andrew and Brittany talk. It turns out that they had the hots for each other. Wow. This came out of nowhere.
What?
Brittany says that she enjoys talking to him and his energy. He says he didn't know she was interested. And he says he's really attracted. And that's her cue. She goes in for a kiss. And Brittany in her ITM says that she feels safe with Andrew. And Andy, you said, wow, Brittany's really confusing the shit out of me.
Well, I don't understand. Like, clearly they cut a lot of stuff of Brittany.
Yeah.
In these early episodes. Was it just super boring? What was the deal? Like, what happened with Brittany? She made connections, apparently some minor connections with Andrew. She made some minor connections with
Casey.
Yes. What was happening with her?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Maybe Brittany is kind of, I mean, she does have a cold-ish demeanor. I think it takes her a while to open up. And maybe that just doesn't translate.
Maybe you're right. Maybe they just look at it. It's like, they have to, like, look, let's face it, it's Bachelor in Paradise. They don't want middle of the road. It has to be extreme.
All or nothing. And that's why Andrew and Teddy, because they were coupled up, that's all we saw with Andrew. It turns out that there was chemistry with Brittany along the way, but because it wasn't full throttle, it wasn't shown.
Interesting.
Storytelling. Always come back to the bad storytelling. Yeah. Okay, Jacob and Jill now. Their names sound great together. Jill in her ITM says that she's super excited. She says they'll have fun no matter what the activity is. They attend a full moon ceremony and look at crystals and do a tantric breathing meditation. Jacob in his ITM says he does a lot of breathing every single day. It oxidates the blood and lowers inflation.
Oh, inflation, yeah. The Fed should stop raising interest rates. They should just breathe more.
He says when you go underwater and can't breathe, it makes you realize how valuable air really is.
I mean, he's not wrong.
You know, it's funny how before we were like, oh, Jacob, we don't know what's going on with Jacob. But after Peter, Jacob's so enjoyable.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
He's made Jacob seem like a completely full, delightful human being.
Yes. Jacob and Jill now howl at the moon. They rub oil on each other and they say, nature.
I like that.
The shaman asks them if they're okay with being naked for the next ritual. They're like, yeah, we're cool with that. And they stand back to back in their birthday suits and have to say what they like most about each other. I thought this was going to be personality traits, but it turns out it's physical traits. So Jacob says he loves her buttocks. She says his arms.
Wow, that's it. That's it. Dun, 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 dun.
Very good.
Thank you.
Mendelssohn.
Yeah, no one knows that except you. I mean, I know it now because of you. You taught me that. I thought that was just like written by the world. Like that was like they didn't, that no one wrote that. That was just like a movie wrote that.
Did we play that when we walked back?
No.
I think we did 4 seasons.
You mean when they were throwing rice on us and stuff? Oh, I don't know.
I feel like maybe we did play that.
Yeah. Everyone does. You have to. Otherwise, you're not really married.
Okay, so now Jacob and Jill take baths side by side and make out, and we agree that they're cute in their own way.
This works.
It does.
I stan. It's my new word. I'm using it not ironically now.
Next, you're going to be saying slaps.
No, never.
Brandon and Serene now. Brandon in his ITM shares that Serene didn't have friends show up to her birthdays as a kid, and she doesn't love birthdays for that reason. So Brandon references that while the group walks up behind her, because it's Serene's birthday, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of birthdays. And as they walk up behind Andrew, you're like, it looks like they're about to murder her. It did feel very ominous.
Like Get Out kind of vibe there.
They all sing her happy birthday and give her yet another cake, the same cake we've seen.
Yeah, they just went to the cake store before the season started. They're like, we need like 10 cakes.
Yeah.
We use cakes a lot on the show. Just give us 10 cakes.
The focus now turns to Shanae's love triangle with James and Logan. She chats with James, and in her ITM, she says he's confident, assertive. He's all in on her. Meanwhile, she says, Logan hasn't told me he's all in on me. Meanwhile, we see Logan preparing his grand gesture.
It's cute.
It was cute.
It was very cute.
He has her join him in the pool, and he puts on some goggles and reveals that he used to be a snorkel tour guide, which is cute.
Yeah.
And he heard there was treasure around there. I did think this would have been cuter had she found the treasure. It's like you hiding your own Easter eggs. He finds the champagne bottle that he hid, and inside it, he has his lucky beads, his bracelet.
That's cute.
He, I think, loans her the beads and says that he hopes it brings her luck. She seems to deeply appreciate his effort here and tells him so, and they make out. And she says, did you think of this all on your own?
It's a reasonable question.
It is a reasonable question. I thought this was really cute.
Yeah.
I always love any fourth wall breakage.
Yeah.
We know that a lot of these things are planned for them. Like, do we think that Sierra single-handedly bought Michael stars?
Yeah, she's like on the phone in a room
She
with the
printed
Star
out.
buying company.
Shanae in her ITM says that she's not good at juggling two guys, and she breaks down. She says, quote, I don't want to send one home and I get screwed in the end. I thought this takeaway was hilarious. It wasn't like,
thinking.
yeah, it's just funny how she just said it instead of being like, oh, I hope that I don't break someone's heart. She's like, I don't want to get screwed. I want to pick right.
I'm in this for Shanae. I mean, come on.
Jared and Ashley now, as Ashley eats pizza, he says that they have to have sex tonight.
Yes.
And they walk on the beach and make out and head to bed. And the joke is that it takes 7 minutes and 57 seconds for them to have sex. So that was the conclusion of their arc. Okay. Da, 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 da. Jacob and Jill return from the date. They make out again before crossing the threshold back to paradise, and they're glowing. We hear about how happy Jill is from Brittany,
Yeah.
who seems really happy for her. And I just thought this was another reminder of how close Brittany and Jill are. Brittany is invested in Jill's happiness to the point where she's narrating how happy Jill seems, which further makes Romeo's move on Brittany last week a terrible one. The music is all suspenseful now as Kira returns. She was eliminated last week, but she returns to the beach. She marches right up to Jacob and asks to speak with him. I wrote, ugh, this is painful.
Yeah.
Kira in her ITM says that she's back to get Jacob back. And now we get a sepia tone recap of the beef between Jill and Kira.
See, the problem with this is that no one, and I mean no one, except real people who are just completely clueless, no one thought that Jacob was going to go for Kira here.
Yeah.
This was just a way of humiliating Kira on TV. And no one thought this was going to happen. So what was the point of this?
Well, do you think that Kira thought it was a possibility?
Yes, I think Kira thought it was.
Yeah.
Kira is the only person in America who thought that was going to happen.
Well, and she's such a producer pet this season. I think she's probably just having a good time, and producers recognize that. And they're like, oh, she's willing to do this. Amazing. But I agree. This was not a cliffhanger.
I can't figure Kira out.
I know.
Can't figure it out.
She acknowledged on some stories, some Instagram stories, that she's just having fun.
That's fine.
Pretty much.
Okay. But is that fun? Is that fun going back and being humiliated? I don't know.
Here's the thing. I guess humiliation is a subjective thing. If she didn't, maybe she just wanted to get a few more minutes on TV.
I think Kira loves TV. She loves being on TV, and I'm not faulting her for that.
She's one step closer to her transition to influencer.
It's like the transition of the guy in Silence of the Lambs to like a butterfly.
Wait, what? I've never seen Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, that's right. You can't watch that movie. Anyway, the serial killer is obsessed with these caterpillars that turn into moths.
Okay.
And so he himself wants to become a moth from a caterpillar form. It's very bizarre. I mean, he's a serial killer. He's not thinking the right way.
Okay.
Anyway, there you have it.
Wait, what does that have to do with him killing people?
It doesn't have to do with him killing people. It has to do with Kira becoming an influencer from being a doctor. And I'm not sure it works.
We'll let the Shandies make sense of that one.
Yeah. My point is there's a negative connotation here.
Kira tells Jacob that she can't stop thinking about him. He says, what are you trying to say? And she says she still has feelings for him. Meanwhile, we see Jill saying, it's done. Okay, bye. See ya. While Romeo narrates the fact that this conversation is going on longer than expected. And he can tell Jill is starting to get a little worried. And so they keep talking over on that day bed. And Kira says Jacob feels like home. And she kind of sort of starts to cry here. And the conversation keeps going, and they see him hold Kira's hand to comfort her, I suppose. And Jill's like, okay, I'm done. I'm heading to bed.
Sure.
And now Brittany does something that you adamantly disagreed with, Andy. Brittany confronts Jacob while he's still talking to Kira. She marches right up to Jacob and says, seriously, what's going on? You just pissed off Jill and she's run upstairs. Andy, you said stay out of it. What are your thoughts on
Let
this?
nature take its course. Let him do the right thing on his own. Because once you intervene, now you've basically told Jill that, oh, I had to do this to get Jacob to do that. Maybe Jacob, in due course, which he was going to do. He was, honestly, I got to give it to Jacob. He was being a gentleman here. He understood that Kira was in a very vulnerable position. He had
whether or not it was real.
It doesn't matter. He had a history with her. He was being a gentleman. This was actually Jacob's, to me, one of his better moments. And Brittany ruined it. She basically made it, like Jill forgave him in the end. We'll get to that. But in the end, it's possible that Jill would have been like, oh, you needed Brittany to tell you to come up here? She did not need to get involved.
I mean, some might argue that Brittany was being a good friend.
No, but that's not a good friend. That's not a good friend. It's the same kind of thing as a friend who cock blocks. That's not a good friend. Just because you think that your friend doesn't belong with any guy doesn't mean you're a good friend. That means you're an overbearing friend. Let your friend make her own mistakes.
Yeah, this really, you had a big reaction to Brittany doing this.
Brittany's really, the stock has gone down for me.
Yeah. You said, Andy, it's an inverted cock block. She intervened, a natural progression.
Yeah.
So Jacob now tells Kira that they have great chemistry. He adores the fact that she puts herself out there, but their connection was too forced for him. It was never going to work out. He says Jill has pulled some great traits out of him. He says, thanks, but no thanks, and he leaves. So now Jacob finds Jill, and then they make up quickly and howl more together. And you're right, Andy. Like, I actually think it would have been the same outcome, but I think it would have been more powerful had he done this on his own without Brittany coming in.
And I don't think it would have been any different.
Oh, I agree. I think Jacob was always going to do this.
He was never for one split second going to be wooed by Kira.
Yeah.
This was purely him being nice and trying to not come off like a jerk. Whether it was manufactured or sincere, he was doing, I think, the right thing.
Yeah. Okay, now as Kira heads out, Romeo descends once again. Andy, you said he's like the cartoon character Vulture.
Is that the sound they make?
I don't know.
Vulture. Why is no one eating this perfectly good corpse?
You sound like the witch from Hansel and Gretel.
Oh, you do a better vulture.
You're making a good point. But okay, we've seen a vulture at the zoo once. We were at the Philly Zoo.
Oh my God, eating a pig's head.
It was eating a pig's head, an insane creature. I've never seen a vulture up close.
Vulture's terrifying.
Yeah.
If there is an animal that's kind of a little evil,
a
vulture's there. Vultures and hyenas, I think, are as close to evil animals
but maybe
as you can
vultures
get.
are just doing what nature...
I know they don't have a choice. I'm just saying... If the creator decided to make bad animals and good animals, I think hyenas and vultures fall into the bad category.
Creator.
Yeah.
Kira says she's glad she came back. She's learned that when she's really forward, a lot of people tend to take it the wrong way. And Romeo hugs her and starts crying now. Kira says Romeo never did that to her. He never judged her. And they reflect now on how things might have gone had he given her his rose at the next rose ceremony instead of Jill. They make out now. And Andy, you said, I have mixed feelings about this. Yeah. Kira says she missed him. He says he's happy she's there. And then she says, would you leave paradise with me?
Oops.
Oops, I did it again.
I played with
got lost in the game. Ooh, baby, baby.
I don't know the words.
You don't know this?
No, I know the song. I just don't know the words.
Oops, you think I'm in love. I'm sent from above. I'm
Hit
not
me, baby, one more time. Oh, whoops. I was sure that was right.
It's a different
It's
song.
very similar though.
Hit Me Baby One More Time is the classic.
I know, but it's just similar. The songs are pretty similar if you think about it.
How good was that song? I remember
mean,
the first time I heard that, I was like,
Everyone went nuts for Britney.
yeah,
Everybody.
rightfully so.
Guys, young guys, old guys, women, young women, old women.
Why are you making
Trying
this
to
weird?
cover everything.
I was just saying it was a good song.
It's a good song. Everybody liked it.
Kira asks if Romeo would leave paradise with her, and Andy, you said, would there still be TV if I leave with you? He seems to think about this way too long, and we were so determined to figure out whether or not this was an edit that we rewatched this a few times. Because I was like, I think they're reusing Kira's smile. Because she's looking at him and she like smiles. And I was like, oh, I'm sure they're reusing that like 2-3 times. But then I rewatched him and I don't think they did. I think he really did wait a really long time.
Yeah, it was like almost a full minute.
Finally, he says, all right. The most romantic response.
I mean, he was put in a bad situation, which
but
he
he did it to
placed
himself.
himself into.
He did it to himself.
Yeah, he had no choice then. What is he going to do? Now humiliate her again right there? He had no choice. Like he was going to go home that night anyway, or whatever, the next night. I don't know, whenever the rose ceremony is. So he's just like, all right.
Okay, so while Kira and Romeo do their ITM together before leaving, and Kira says they did paradise right, we get a fantastic zoom in on Romeo's face. It's priceless.
Production came through finally.
Okay, so in this moment, I was like, wait, they actually do have a good sense of humor. Someone does. Someone in the editing room saw Romeo's face here and was like, this is hilarious.
Yeah. Where has that person been?
For the last 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, whoever did the zoom in on Mario.
Mario.
On Romeo's face here. I was like, oh, please
Yes,
do more
thank
editing.
you. Thank you
Please.
for your work.
Okay, so that brings us to the credits. It's more of the other team, the other people's sense of humor. Wells has an ITM with a puppet of Sally's suitcase on his hand. And Andy, you said you know it's a bad season when Wells is the comedian on the island.
Yeah. No offense to Wells, sort of. But
Well, yeah, I don't think Wells is not funny. I feel like they're relying on him too much.
yeah, you can't put that on him.
This was very unfunny. You know, it's so much effort. We talked about last week. I said that Sally's suitcase skit to me was so unfunny because all I could see was effort. It's amazing how the little zoom in on Romeo's face, it was observational humor. And then they have all this skit. They're like, ha, 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 hack, hack, hack with the suitcase. And I'm going to do a voice of the
Well,
suitcase.
the problem is they get married to these bits.
Yes.
That should be like really fast.
Yes.
Just like you see it and it's gone and you don't think about it ever again.
Yes.
And then it'll be fine. But instead they call back a whole sketch.
They
that was
call back
fine.
callbacks.
Yeah, just leave it alone. Let it breathe.
Less is more. Yes. Okay, Andy, that brings us to the end of the episode. Based on the preview for the episodes to come, it looks like they're ripping off Temptation Island.
Oh my God, such a hard rip.
Yes. But in the now, Andy, who is your A-game winner for episodes 4 and 5?
I don't know if a lot of people are going to like this, and I don't feel that comfortable with it, but I'm giving it to Aaron.
Ooh, the police chief.
Yeah.
Wow, that's shocking. What a shocking turn of events.
I feel uncomfortable, but it's what I feel. I think that his conversation with Genevieve when she was apologizing was A+.
No, it's true. He took it really well. And he like I said, he became the romantic lead in that moment.
Yeah.
Whether or not he actually likes Genevieve that much, it was strategically smart because it will ensure his rose. And he's showing her plenty of affection. He's showing her how all in on her he is. You know, whether or not he actually is, I don't know, but it is good game.
Yeah.
It's going to get him that rose for sure.
Yes. Give credit where credit is due.
Yes. Okay. That brings us to our word watch, Andy. There was one vibing.
Barely.
Yeah.
Just barely.
Like in the first 5 minutes.
I
of
was
these 4
shocked.
hours.
I thought we'd get at least 10.
So there were 81 correct guesses.
Yeah.
And we have our winner, Leslie Burkower. Congratulations. You are the winner of $185 in Feels CBD. So Leslie, please email us by this Friday at midnight to claim your prize. And Andy, do you have a word in mind for next week?
Pizza.
That could really go either way.
Yeah.
I feel like that could be like a disaster. Like there could be 30 or it could suddenly not come up at all.
That's the beauty of Work Watch. We don't know.
You never know what's going to happen. All right. Well, we once again have our amazing prize to be won. Ooh, $185 in Feels Premium CBD. $185 in CBD is no joke.
It's a lot of CBD.
Yes, and it's our highest value prize. Thank you to Feels for sponsoring this. So if you would like a chance to win $185 in Feels CBD, you will guess either below this YouTube video or over on the Instagram post for this recap the number of times you predict the word pizza will be uttered in episodes 6 and 7. And you will do so using the numeral. You will not write out the word. And you must include either word watch or pizza in your comment, just so that Andy's program can pick it up.
I've got a very advanced algorithm.
You must do so by this Friday at midnight. And if you guess correctly, you will be entered in a pile and one name will be drawn. And that person will win the grand prize.
Yes.
Great. Okay. So, Andy, finally, who would we go for?
I mean, with a very heavy heart, I'm going to stick with Brittany.
Okay. Why the heavy heart? Because I actually, I understand that you were annoyed that Brittany intervened with the with the Jacob stuff. Yeah. And I understand that you were turned off that she even went on the date with Peter in the first place. Yeah. But her takeaway from the date with Peter was the correct takeaway.
I agree. That's why I came back. When she said she was all into Peter and she was excited for their date, I was done. Me and Victoria already bought an apartment together. It was over. But she had the right takeaway, which brought me back to baseline.
Okay.
But then she did that thing with Jacob, which I was like, eh. And I still don't understand. Where was all the Brittany stuff?
Yeah.
Brittany Casey, Brittany Andrew, where was that?
Yeah.
Where's all the footage? What happened that was unairable of Brittany?
Bad storytelling.
Anyway,
there's a lot of gaps.
Sticking with Brittany.
Okay.
I'm not that excited about it anymore. You know how you meet someone and you're so like, oh my God, you tell your mother, everything's great. And then something happens on the next date and you're like, but you're like, oh, I'm sticking with it. But
you see her a little differently.
Yeah, you see an expiration date.
Yeah.
Whereas first it was like eternity.
I think it might be simpler than you think. Maybe she was just excited that someone showed interest in her and her alone. And they arrived, they're like shiny and new, and they ask her on a date. So even if she doesn't see a future with them, she's like, I haven't been asked on a date yet. Maybe it was just,
maybe. That's as again, I'm reserving. I have hope. She's got a few episodes left to win my heart. I'm sure she's very stressed about it. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. Okay, for me, I have a clear winner for who I would go for this week, and that is Casey.
Oh, no doubt.
Casey was, he was a lot of comic relief this week. We all know that I'm a sucker for that.
Yeah.
I loved his commentary about Peter, and he was just exactly right on. And we have to remember, too, that in his commentary, he doesn't actually know what's playing out. So this is just what he remembers from having been on his season before, and he had the exact right impression
of him.
Of it. He basically narrated what was going on that date based on his memory of this guy alone. So he was really funny. I don't understand the romantic situation. I feel like Casey's sort of a free agent, and I don't know. I'm confused. I feel like someone messed up when they cast this season because there's just no chemistry. It doesn't feel like people are into each other. So it's kind of painful to watch in that sense. But yeah, Casey was very funny this week. I was very into him.
I'm with it.
Yeah. Well, Andy, we survived.
By the skin of our teeth.
This is rough.
Yeah, really rough.
I want this to be good, and it's not.
It is not good.
And from the looks of next week, it looks like it, who knows, maybe this Temptation Island spin will make things more interesting, but it just seems really contrived. They just don't understand that less is more.
Yeah.
Well, if you enjoyed what you heard today, you know what we will ask of you, and that is to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow us on Instagram and TikTok, leave us Apple and Spotify podcast ratings and reviews, and generally do all of the things that you would do to support a podcast that you enjoy and that muscles through so many hours of shitty TV. Oof. But we're still hopeful. We're hopeful, right?
It's going to get better.
I need hope.
It's going to get better.
I need hope.
I promise you.
Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Dear Shandy. Bye-bye. Dear Shandy.